Hi, do you want to make your own podcast for free? Try Anchor. It's the easy way. Anchor gives you creation tools needed. You can use your own phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to the right platforms, Apple, Spotify, and all the big ones. You can make money on your podcast no matter the size of your audience. So download the free Anchor app and get started. You know, it might sound silly, but I was watching a lot of those videos that talk about how to manifest. That means create, turn to real. In other words, if I was to manifest $5, it would become real. And I watched a lot of videos about how to do this. It gets complicated, but after having watching enough, I think I've boiled it down to some very concrete demands. And that's how I look at things, being a lawyer, is make sure the demands are met, and understanding it from that context, I just decided to put it to the test, and I decided to use $200,000 as my envisioning, what I want to manifest is $200,000 over and above whatever I may have. Brian Scott has done tons of videos concerning this concept. There are others. You don't have to go far to find YouTube videos telling you how to manifest. And there are many, many theories. But the ones that made sense to me boiled down to two facts. First, you have to imagine it as concrete as you can, and so you would take your mental picture of your bank statement, or just go to your bank app and look at your balance, and then do some mental twist and turn that number to what you want and lock it in for 17 seconds, and then behave as if you already have it. And that is the key. So we're going to put this to the test. There's also another addendum, that if you can get another to agree with the same idea, it happens so much faster. So this whole effort is to find that one party out there who is in agreement with my desire to manifest $200,000 right now. Now that's just maybe what some of your 401ks might be. It's not a large amount of money to someone who is truly wealthy. It is a lot of money to a working class man who takes a salary and probably doesn't have that much in his savings. If he does, he might be rare. So we're trying to get a number that's realistic, and that's why we chose that number. Okay, so we'll just put this to the floor. Do I have someone who seconds my motion for $200,000 manifested into their bank account right now? And as soon as you believe and act as if it is there, it is there. That is all, folks. And now, in accordance with the spirit of law, which is my stock and trade, I freely hear from the opposition, the prosecution, who would say something like this.
Well, that is preposterous that someone could create something like $200,000 out of thin air with no effort other than the wishful dallying that you might call effort?
Well, the effort is actually not relevant to the case. Yes, it is rather simple. There is effort, however, so if any effort is factored into gain as a requirement, which is dubious, the effort has been given. Are there any other disclaimers? Anybody else have something to say for the prosecution, since he has so eloquently said nothing? Then that is done. So we have now processed our manifest for $200,000. It is now done and delivered, and that is all.
You've probably seen those videos where they claim you can manifest something from nothing. Why, the internet is full of those videos. If you got time to watch them, you might want to try them. But are they real? Or is it just an institution designed to get likes on YouTube? Sure, there are shysters out there. But is manifesting real? Can it be done by people like you and I? We watched over 200 episodes and videos concerning this topic of manifestation, and manifesting things, money, cars, love, whatever it is. The contention is, if you do the right things, and they're not that hard, you can do it. And so we began to investigate the possibility of manifesting your own destiny. Is it possible? Stay tuned as we explore Manifest Destiny.
Well, being a lawyer by trade, I was skeptical, but as in when I listen to a client state his case, I don't judge the case, I just listen. And so I took the same approach to this as I would a case. And so you need some kind of legal framework in most instances to have a case. And so we'll go that route. Now, Jesus Christ in his teachings clearly said, if you can imagine a mountain to move and you believe it, it will move. Now, what did he mean? Obviously, there are degrees of intensity required. He also mentioned something about the faith of a mustard seed. So that's one of the ingredients in the equation. Probably the one that stops it from being a common occurrence. We can look to history. The alchemist in the old days seem to have produced things out of nowhere. There are numerous reports of these things happening. So perhaps the key was squirreled away in tablets and hidden, and only a chosen few know how it really works. If that's the case, that's a large rabbit hole to try to dig. So we're just going to assume that it is the case, and it has been done, and it's not an unusual occurrence, at least not theoretically. So we have some basis that it would be true, because the highest authority, by his own claim, and seconded by many, said it was possible, and in fact encouraged it. And so we can proceed from this point with relative freedom
with the understanding that this is not some pie in the sky nonsense. Well, if it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it? Well, it's not done, I would concede. I listen to a lot of videos, and even the ones who understand it and believe it have had a lot of difficulty in achieving it. So apparently, there are some delicate points that have to be done properly. And I think those points more or less lead to a metaphysical connection. And that is how it's actually done. And that requires you to learn a lot of things about metaphysics and might lead you through a long, arduous search. And many have reported this, that they began looking for something particular, and the metaphysical search became their whole life, because as they sought, they found. And that's very interesting. So I suppose the layman might be at some disadvantage, but as I have studied it, perhaps that is not the case, because simplicity is also highly rewarded, as faith is basically a simple belief in something that you understand, even though you cannot portray that to others necessarily. And so the key does lie beyond the mere physical realm. But that's not a realm that's blocked to mankind. And that's something that the world has taught you, that you're limited by the five senses that are easily observable by your body. But as you study this subject, you'll find that that's really just a part of what each and every one of us really are. And so in many cases, the rewards weren't the manifested gifts that people did induce, but was the higher truth that they unearthed and were able to use effectively, not only for themselves, but for others. So is it true that we can manifest things we desire? And how can we do it? We've been talking about how it's all over YouTube. There must be 100 channels describing the process. Some agree and some disagree. I personally have took a few incidences to try some of these techniques and found them interesting. However, the process is not quite like the magic genie. Although in the end, it would seem as such. A social speaker named Neville Goddard wrote several books on the subject and lived his life with intense knowledge in his mind that this was the way to live. And he lived his life in true accordance with the principles that he could manifest anything he desired. And he taught his audiences how to do it. To sum up his years and life's work in a phrase, Neville Goddard expressed the intense importance of living in the end as if the end has been achieved. And that would be the definition of faith. If you have the faith of a mustard seed and you say to that mountain, it will move, it will move. That came from the highest authority. So you certainly aren't shooting pies in the sky with this one. Stay tuned as we discuss the art of manifesting in our special report, Manifest Destiny.
So can you manifest anything? Like anything? Or does it have to be good things? Can we manifest bad things? Well, certainly you could manifest a bad thing, but there are also laws of the universe that would make that all come to pass in full circle of payment. You would get a negative result from your manifestation, but you could do it. It's the basis for black magic. It's the basis for a lot of tribal rituals. So certainly mankind has pursued this from time immemorial. It's probably ironic that the people least likely to take this seriously would be the modern man, who's got a smartphone in his pocket that can tell him anything in the world he wants to know instantly. But what he can't do with that smartphone is turn his shack into a mansion, or his jalopy into a Jaguar, or turn his bank account from struggling to thriving. And those are things that men supposedly, and women, people, they really can do. So you're saying we can manifest anything we want. And if that were true, how would government like that idea? Well, I'm not sure they would actually have any opposition to it at first, but at some point, the whole idea of society would change. So you decided, since you believe it's true, you've decided to manifest $200,000 right here on this program. That's what you're trying to do. Well, that's what we're doing, and we're doing it for a good purpose. We're going to show people that it can be done, and actually using an audience like this would be a good idea. Because when you have two affirmations, it becomes a done deal. You can go back to science to verify that one. There's lots of science that's intriguing in this. The scientists who discovered that a small microscopic particles, there's something out there that they've discovered that only responds upon observation. And the scientists didn't know what to do with that. They still don't. But all it does is verify. Two leads the rest. Because the molecules that observed act in unison and change the behavior of everything around them once it is observed. So perhaps that is a part of the key to observe. You have this ability, then you do. Now, how do you observe it? You have to understand it. And understanding it can be complex. But as in all understanding, you have to keep the simplicity, because that seems to be a theme in the universe, is simple design leads to magnificent and complex results. And so it is not meant to be difficult. The difficult part is believing it. And that's not really difficult, but that's the part that holds humanity back. And it gets into science once again gets into the understanding of the human being, the way he's constructed. And you could watch some videos by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who would illuminate your understanding of the way the body is constructed, and he gets into the magnetic field, which is a part of your body and a part of your construction, but not a part of your five senses. And so those things factor in as well. You're fighting, the mind has to operate in a certain way. The mind, the active brain, the rational brain of the human is always thinking. And so the heart is the feelings the man has. Feelings versus rational thought. Those are the two parts of man. And just like in those scientists, they both have to be observed. And when they're observed, they act different. Neville Goddard would say the key was to unify the heart center, which is the feelings, and the rational mind. Eastern thinkers induced their followers to shut down the rational mind, which is natural right before sleep. And this is when you would do your best manifesting, is when you're lying down and you still the mind, which is the rational mind, millions of thoughts, second by second. But these thoughts do not have power of manifestation. And the feelings, that's the desires of the man while he's in his bed, what he wants to have happen, his desires, his feelings, those have no ability to manifest alone as well. But when they merge in common thought, the manifestation is assured. And therefore, when you have two or more, it is much easier, because the rational mind, if both can be stilled simultaneously, the two hearts have all the power. It only takes two. It takes two to tango. They don't make sayings like that for nothing. Well, it all sounds too easy. You just say you can have whatever you want. Why don't we have it? Well, it's a very complicated thing to actually achieve this. Like I said, it might require, for some people, a lifetime. For some, it only takes just a little understanding. To be honest with you, a child probably has a better chance of manifesting something than a mature, responsible adult who's been taught a lot of things and accepted a lot of limitations that he was given. But the child does not learn these limitations at the moment. The child has no problem understanding that he can have that puppy that they saw when his mom took him shopping. He doesn't have any problem believing he can have that puppy. And a lot of times, that's how people get puppies. The child has the advantage, because the rational mind cannot produce its manifestations. And the separated heart is equally devoid of the possibilities of creating its desires. They have no power to create individually. They must merge. And the rational mind of an adult is a lot to still. It's hard to get a mind to shut down. A mind that's worried about mortgage payments and car payments and the problems on the job and this and that, and how's that grass going to grow with this sun bearing down in summer. A mind has a lot of things to worry about, but it has to be stilled, and it has to accept as a rational thought this desire of the heart. And that's the key. It's very hard to get that mind then to believe that $200,000 can come out of nowhere without you doing some substantial effort to earn it. The heart does not understand earning. The heart understands what it wants. All it has to do is get the mind to at least not resist the idea. And that is unification. And when the resistance becomes a rallying, joyous celebration of the idea, that's when your true manifesting begins. So you've got to know a lot about the body to pull this off. You're saying the brain is different than the heart, the feelings? And there's no doubt about it. They're not the same, and they have to be unified to achieve a result. But when they are unified, that result is assured. So the battle, as Shakespeare might say, lies not within the stars, but ourselves. We're at fault. Well, can we fix it? Well, you certainly can. It does involve just an understanding of the dynamics and giving it a fair shake. And a lot of people can really tell you that it has changed their life. Now, the Neville Goddard and some of those thinkers would also point out that the rational mind does accomplish a lot of things that you don't want, because the heart concedes something that you're thinking of so much. It just concedes and quits arguing with it. If you're sending a negative thought constantly, the other part of you, the feelings, just get worn down and they accept it. And you have created misery. And people have done a good job of that, so certainly they could create whatever they desire. This has been a production of Endless Adventure. At Endless Adventure, we believe in nourishing the whole being, the mind, the body, and the spirit. We want to feed all of you. We hope you enjoy this broadcast. If you did, tell someone else and listen freely.